All right, Nicole, welcome to the Elevating Resilience podcast. We're so excited to have you on today. Can you tell us a little about yourself and just go?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Nicole, and I'm the owner of InSync Cycling. I started that business about 9 months ago, so still in the thick of it.
Yeah, for sure. So I went to a class with you. Jen told me that you and I needed to meet, two like-minded people, and I told you I was super impressed. Asked you right away to come on the podcast. I was just taken back by how motivating you were. Been taking spin a long time, and it was just a mixture of saying the right things. The amount of energy that was required was like, I'm going to give you more just because of your presence. And so, just kind of want to first start out with like, what made you want to open up a cycling studio on your own, and how do you always know the right things to say?
Thank you. Yeah. So growing up, I was a competitive dancer. So movement, music has always like coincided for me, and been such a big reason of why I move, how I express myself, all of that. So I wanted a way to instill that into other people and give them a safe space to express themselves as authentically as they want it to be, as free as they want it to be. And movement has always been more for my mental health than it ever has been for my physical health. It's a way I feel safe. And I just wanted a way to instill that in others, give them a space where they can come to feel safe, to express themselves.
Yeah. So you were at other studios before you took the risk, right?
Yeah. I've been teaching cycling for almost 6 years, like half a decade. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So you graduated from Shore in 2011. You went to Monmouth University.
Yes.
And then you also have a 9-to-5. Tell us what
Yes.
else you do.
Yeah. So I have a 9-to-5 in supply chain, just working in Excel sheets all day. For me, it's always been a means to an end. That was never something that I was more passionate about. I think it is important to set yourself up for success. So it's been a balance for me to find the things I'm passionate about, the things I want to lead toward, the things I want to do, the things that bring me joy and happiness and strength and all of that. But also knowing that I need to set myself up for success and taking risks while playing it safe, if that makes any sense.
Like we talked about, I wish I had gone back to remember that part, you know, but regardless, you're still taking like an awesome risk and you're doing what makes you happy at the meantime. And you'll know when that specific time is, when it's time to say, all right, I'm going to go all in, so to say, in this. But for now, you know, that finance piece is super important for sure, especially since you took that risk alone, regardless of the support you have. So it's really awesome.
Yeah.
And like one big question I have is like, when I was taking your class, like you just like, what fills your cup in order to be able to fill everybody else's cup up? Like, how do you just have such an inspiration side of you?
Yeah. Honestly, so part of running the business was coaching and training new instructors. And for me, I told them that was always the hardest part about instructing, is that even on your lowest of lowest days, you need to enter that space like it's no one else's business. So, when you're feeling really low, trying to get everyone else to be really high is the biggest struggle. And obviously I told them that if there's ever moments they feel like they couldn't do it, that they don't have to feel obligated to. But I do think that there is importance in stepping up in those ways. And also not being afraid to show that side. So
love that.
Like stepping in that room and maybe sharing with the whole room that it's not the best of time, or that there was something that's struggling, but the importance of that space And what I was trying to create was that even on your lowest days, we're here to elevate you. And when you're feeling high, your only job is to elevate everybody else, and you're just going to bring them higher. So I would be hypocritical if I didn't walk in that space on my lowest or my highest days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. You just used 2 words, elevate
Yeah.
and authenticity. And I'm going to take you into elevating resilience.
Yeah.
So I'd like, if you can remember a specific story or something where you felt you had to elevate your resilience to get through something, like a personal story that kind of, I guess, kind of gave you the mindset to get you where you are today, to run a business, have a 9 to 5, and just like be a service to people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think I'm actively living in it.
I love
Yeah.
It's the first time anybody admitted that. Let's go.
It's yeah, like I said, the business is still really new.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm in the thick of it, and there are some days where I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm drowning. I need to come up for air. But I think for me, what's important about resilience is sort of finding ways to be comfortable, uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So just knowing that nothing, whether it's good or bad, is going to last forever. Mm-hmm. So finding whatever you can to make it through even the darkest of times. So
yeah,
yeah,
I like that. You had mentioned just before about the big word that I struggle with as well, which is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And so imposter syndrome is like these thoughts that you tell yourself based on how you view what is going on maybe in other people's studios or how other people's success looks like. And I mean, just honestly, for my own mental health, like how do you get through your imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Imposter syndrome all the time, I feel like. I find it hard to like boast about myself. Not that it's bragging or that it should come off in any sort of way, but like I was speaking about earlier, that it's so important to recognize my privilege and that I've gotten this opportunity, and not to diminish the hard work that it's been or the hard work that I've put into it, but to acknowledge that I've had so much help and support with friends, with family, like financially, all of that. So I find it like a little uncomfortable sometimes to talk about how amazing I'm doing, especially because, like I just said, I feel like I'm still living in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So on days when people are telling me I'm amazing, I'm like, it doesn't feel like that. But I think that's I also think that that's important to show and to share. Yeah. Because there, like you said, there are so many people, like other studios, other businesses, anything that you can compare yourself to, other human beings that you can compare yourself to. And a lot of the times you like look at certain people or certain places or certain things and you're like, they must have it all together. Like they look like they're killing the game. So when people say things like that about me or to me, I'm like, you have no idea. Like it's a mess. It's a mask, and this is all a mask. But I think it's important. I heard this advice recently, and I've been actually sharing it in classes, that you need to not be afraid to let other people watch you try. Oh. Even if that means they're going to watch you fail. Yeah. So just like be a mess, try and try again, because the people that you think have it all together, the people that you think are a success, all they're doing most likely 9 times out of 10 is trying until something sticks. So just keep trying.
Say that again.
Don't be afraid to let people watch you try.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thanks.
It's so funny because I just recently had an opportunity to speak and had a choice to whether to go up on stage and speak like everybody else would. And maybe say, okay, this is my message today. Maybe character counts. I'm going to tell you why character counts. Here's the 3 reasons why character counts. And then I walk off the stage and wonder if it mattered. And then I thought to myself, like, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to try to be authentically me and go up there and say, all right, here is the mess of what mental health looks like in athletics if it doesn't get fixed. And I walked off the stage yesterday, and probably 97 out of 100 kids wrote me personal messages on Instagram to recognize my mess and relate to it. Even though my mess went to a really big mess,
Right.
they were like, hey, I'm in that small part of it. And thank you for making me recognize that I am first. And I have seen such a shift in more people wanting to share authentically who they are, because that's what's going to help other people. And it's because we keep going at it is what makes the difference, like, which is cool. I love that you say that. I'm going to definitely share that with the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. So what does like a good day look like for you though? Like when you know, hey, I had a good day.
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, if I was able to move my body in some way, it doesn't have to be crazy. But if I was able to move my body in some way, connect with someone in some way, and laugh, I would consider that a good day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you read any books or listen to podcasts or anything like that really moves you?
That's a good question. I recently read the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Oh, yeah.
And I also love her podcast.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, she's great. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of sort of the messages I share in classes and things like that. Like even her message, just you can do hard things. That's a whole sentence, period, the end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you ever hear her?
As well.
Yeah, she's a podcast. And did you ever hear her TED Talk?
No.
Yes, you have to listen to her
I gotta
TED Talk.
listen.
I mean, it's like she made me fall in love with TED Talks, and now I'm like trying to find those TED Talks that of people that go up there and just like are like, hey, this is what it looks like. Like I think one of them is like the lessons I learned in a mental hospital.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think she has one that's about dysfunction being her superpower. But I could be mixing her up with Brene Brown, but both of them
Good.
are there. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And there goes somebody that just tells you how it is. Like,
yes.
For real. And she's made a success out of that, which is kind of cool, you know.
And I liked, especially in the book Untamed, I didn't read her first book, but she had talked about how she wrote about her marriage and how successful it was. And then on the press tour, she was like, my marriage was falling apart. And I felt like such an imposter and a liar.
Yeah.
But that she wasn't afraid to share all of that and let us in on all of that. But yeah.
Because you read sometimes books of people and you don't associate with them because they're just telling you all the things they do well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I wonder what's shifted. I think as much as people say that mental health, obviously it has shifted, I think it's just because people are more comfortable talking about it more than anything else. For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So as a high school kid, like you were a professional dancer, right? Like, did you kind of have this same mindset back then? Like, how would you describe yourself as a high school, like athlete dancing?
Yeah.
Not a professional. I'm in a competitive.
Yeah. Competitive dancer.
Sorry.
Yeah. I had some really great coaches and some really great dance teachers, that were always so supportive. And I know, especially in the dance world, it could be so toxic and so, like I know a lot of young girls like struggle, especially with like body image and stuff when it comes to dance and stuff like that. But I was a chubby kid, and a chubby dancer, like even all through high school. But my dance teachers always supported me and encouraged me in ways that still I utilize every day. So I also teach dance. So getting to share that, like I said, dance created that safe space for me. Dance was always more about self-expression and joy. And on the dark days when I was maybe being teased at school or just you're a kid, life is hard sometimes. Dance was always a place where I left feeling better than I walked in, no matter what. Like sometimes I didn't get my tricks perfect. Sometimes I didn't I wasn't the best at like the splits and all of that, but yeah, it was always a space. And my teachers, I account for a lot of that.
That's amazing.
So yeah, being able
Is
to
the
recreate
studio
that.
local? Give them a shout out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's formerly the Dancers Workshop. I danced there and taught there,
Mhm.
and now they just rebranded a few years ago. It's Studio 7 in Wall Township.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
I love what you say about that, like what dancers do struggle with, and you see
yeah,
the body image,
yeah.
and like talking about being a chubby kid, like same,
Mhm.
like feel that at the core, and like were girls mean in that space?
Yeah,
Mm.
not so much at dance. I had a really good group of girls, and I think it was a lot to do with the teachers and the
Mhm.
coaches.
The culture
Um,
they created, I'm
yeah, the
sure.
culture they created and the space that was
Mhm.
provided. Because I do hear stories from other studios that maybe weren't
Mhm.
as great. Um, but yeah, I mean, I sort of, I don't know if it was, I liked that I danced in Wall, but I went to school in West Long Branch. So I went to
Mhm.
Shore, and none of my dance friends went to my high school, and none of my high
Mhm.
school friends went to my dance.
Yeah.
And I sort of was able to separate those two things.
Yeah.
So when I was having bad days at school, I could come to dance and it was my escape.
Mhm.
And even vice versa. Like if
Yeah.
something happened at dance, I would be able to leave it
Mhm.
behind me.
Mhm.
So that helped.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it was a lot to do with the teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Like, and I think that's really cool that you've like just struggling with possibly being bullied, like that kind of thing, like, and just maybe struggle with low self-esteem. I know that's a space that I was in for sure. Like my friends were all tall, blonde. I mean, we were all great athletes, but I was the kid that like they just made fun of. I had glasses
Yeah.
and like I was the goalie, they used to call me Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks. I mean, that's my image. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. And so I look back on that, and for me, like I I I guess it inspired me or just lit this fire inside of me that I never want to be back there.
Yeah.
And when everybody thinks it's cute to post those pictures of me like back then, I'm just like, oh wow, like who is that? Until recently.
Yeah.
Until recently, I was like, hey, you know who that was? That girl's struggling. And now at this point in her life, she's going to make sure any girl that looks like that will never feel like that again.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why we go through that.
Yeah.
And it's important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the middle of 3 girls. So I have an
Mhm.
older sister and I have a younger sister. And they were the pretty popular girls in school. And I was like the chubby one. So I was always like Brittany's sister or Sammy's sister. And like,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that's why dance became so important to me.
Mhm.
And I always associated that with like movement and music and expression.
Mhm.
It was like an escape from
Yeah.
all of the rest of that.
Yeah.
And for someone who did struggle a little bit with self-confidence and self-esteem, like those moments of on-stage performance, sort of gave you that validation that you crave, that you weren't getting elsewhere.
Yeah. I know. I say I was addicted to success because I was a really good athlete.
Yeah.
So this gave me those feelings that I was missing.
Right.
It's such a great point you make.
Yeah.
For sure. And like looking back at high school, like besides your dance teachers being such a positive part, like as far as being like at Shore and like Monmouth University, like how did you deal with your mental health back then? Was it still through expression and all of that? Like,
Yeah. I like growing up, I really didn't know much about mental health. Like we said, like it didn't become more like talked about like it has been now, which is so great. I started therapy toward the end of college, which has helped so much. Just being able to like talk through things and sort of, I like to get to the why, like why is it I'm acting this way? Why is it I'm thinking this way? Why is it I'm feeling this way? And it usually like roots back to like a few core things. And once you understand the why, you can sort of not fix anything necessarily just off the why, but the understanding of it brings you a sense of calmness and like,
lets you give yourself grace.
yeah,
Just
100%.
be like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, because yeah, like when I was younger, it was solely dance. It was like solely movement
Yeah.
for me, and that's why movement is so important to me, I think. It's always been a way to sort of cope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, because now you are in a studio, and let's call spade a spade. You have a group of women and men who, if you have 30 bikes, you have 27 bikes filled with people who need the encouragement. And now you are giving that encouragement.
Yeah.
That's got to like fire you up.
Yeah.
And you take an awesome responsibility for it. And I think it's beautiful. I do.
Thank you.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you should own that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you do, you know, but at the end of the day, it's hard, but it's really cool, like, to know that, like, all of those people are looking to you, you know, and it's because they see you in your mess, but strong as hell to be like, she's going to tell me something that I need to hear today. That's why they keep going back.
I appreciate you. Yeah. I don't take it lightly at all. And I think what's so cool about opening the business too has been sort of cultivating more than just me, right? So like building a team of people. All the instructors have been amazing. They've been so great. So like watching them flourish, watching them get their tiny wins, their tiny victories, like celebrating their little things too has been so cool.
Well, you're creating a community.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just a cycling studio. And that's what's going, because your why is bigger than money.
Right.
You are a cycling studio that's a community that is taking like-minded people, and you're giving them a service to feel good and move. It's awesome. Yeah. And then that's why it's going to keep growing. That's why, like, I'm super just grateful that you wanted to come on the podcast today, because that's what's really important to me, is like, whether I am pinpointing how a coach creates a culture, a business owner like yourself, an athlete helps create a culture. It's all about the fact that you don't want to create that culture unless you've been through something and you want to elevate resilience and you want to take it and you want to run with it. And that's where it's all stemmed from. Like, you don't just create something out of nothing.
Yeah.
At all. So I'm so thankful you came on.
No,
sure.
I'm so thankful for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 questions. I always ask one question, but you're going to make me ask you a couple more.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So the first one is, you already kind of said it when I said, like, how do you define resilience? And you said being comfortable being uncomfortable. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. The next question is another one of my favorite words, is grit. How would you define grit?
Oh, that's good. Grit, to me, like, I associate it with like grind and hard work, because it's definitely hard work to achieve something. But it can also be beautiful. So like that mess, that grit, that grind, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, but it's also kind of cool and kind of fun. Yeah. So I feel like, grit is cool. Yeah.
All right. So the next one is what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
Oh gosh.
I know I go deep, man. I go deep. I'm sorry. You're gonna need. Forgot to warn you.
Yeah. 15-year-old Coles. She would probably be mind blown if she saw 31-year-old Coles, which is kind of cool to think about.
Yes.
So just letting her know, like, follow your dreams. I almost wish I knew to do it even sooner. Like, I had this dream, this passion for so long, and I kept just saying, like, you're not good enough. You're not going to make it. You're not going to do this. So just reminding her that she's going to be.
Yeah. You're making me cry.
No,
like,
stop.
I'm such a mess.
Yeah, no, she'd be pretty proud.
Because
she'd be pretty proud.
15-year-old self needs to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though you're not that person anymore, it's still at your core. So it really
Yeah.
helps for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess the last question just to end is like, what's like the one piece of advice for other business owners? I know you think you've only 9 months in, so own that, please. Like,
Yeah.
what's your advice?
Surround yourself with supportive, intelligent, and really open-minded people, because you're most likely, especially if you're doing it on your own, going to need a lot of help. So find your support system and lean on them, because
Was
they're
there like
there.
a specific day where you were like, I'm doing this? Not that you can remember a day, okay? It's too dramatic. But like when you finally knew, I'm going to jump in and take this risk.
Yeah, it had a lot to do with turning 30.
Okay.
I was like, you're not going to turn 30 and have nothing to show for it, basically. Not that turning 30 is bad, but it definitely I wanted something to show. I wanted something that would outlive me. I wanted something that would outlast me. So it had been a dream of mine for so long, and I just decided, why not try?
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being vulnerable and authentic. It was great. You're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.